may begin.
How many of you are tired of school? Well, there's a thing called a gap year, and it's a year that you take in between high school and a secondary school. During this time, you can study abroad, you can work for whatever you want to do. It's just a time for you to take time and live a little bit. So a gap year may be a good solution for you. I'll inform you about how a gap year can affect your life in many different ways: social, college, and even your career life. Like I said, a gap year is a year in between high school and a secondary school. It can be beneficial because you can learn a different language during this time, you can travel, you can work in an area that you would like to work in. This started out it started in the 60s during the war, and it was a time for young people who fought in the war to take a little bit of time before they went back to working or went back to school. I think that gap years are really good for preventing college dropouts because a lot of times kids go to school and they go to college and it's just a little bit too much for them. Rachel Beckstead says that 70% of Americans attend a four-year college, but only 2/3 of them will graduate. Now what I want you to do, because I'm not saying that you absolutely need to take a gap year, but I just want you to think about your options, because there are many options. You could go straight to college if you're ready to start your career and you're ready to start your education in that. Or you could take a gap year where you could take time to think about what you want to do. If you don't quite know yet, you could experiment in different fields. Or you could go to a vocational school where if you really know what you want to do but you don't want to go to a lot of school. Weighing your options in what you could do with a vocational school, a college, or a gap year, it could help you from making the mistake of starting too early. This helps you with your career because, for example, if you want to work in the medical field but you have a lower degree, then you can work in that lower degree and get a little feel for the medical field before going into college and learning more. If you don't take a gap year, this is something that could happen. You may go to college and it could be really stressful for you because college is a bigger workload than high school is, and you may not be ready to cope with that. And if you get really stressed out, there was 1/3 of the Americans that do go to college, they drop out. Or it can also be called a college burnout. After you drop out, it's really hard to go back to school because you're afraid that it could happen again. And if you don't go back to school, then you're not going to get a degree, and it's really hard to get a good job without a degree today. The reason why I picked this topic is because my brother was a college dropout. He went to 1 semester of college and then he came back home because it was too stressful for him. It was hard to be away from his family, and the college workload was just so much more than it was here at St. Paul. I think that taking a gap year could really help prevent people from making that mistake. So a gap year can be beneficial to you in many ways, in your career, in your social life, and even going back to college. I encourage you to talk to your parents and to do a little bit further studying about what you personally would like to do.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And if you wouldn't mind just staying there for just a few moments, and if our studio audience has a few questions, now would be a wonderful time to go ahead and pose those.
So, are you going to take a gap year? I would like to take a gap year. I still have to discuss it with my parents. Pat?
What are some bad things about gap year?
Some bad things about a gap year. Yeah, I forgot to mention this. Some people find it hard to go back to school, like after taking that gap year, because they just get really they just settle for whatever job they're at then. And so it's hard for them to go back to school after taking gap year. But a way that you can combat that is if you have a very strict plan or idea of what you want to do during that gap year. That way you can put yourself on track and then be ready to go back to school. Okay.
Okay, you said that 1/3 don't graduate. Do you know like why some of them may drop out? Is it like financial reasons or just they can't keep up with the workload, or
I think it's mainly because of the workload. I don't have statistics of why they dropped out, but yes, Isaiah?
Are gap year students more or less likely to get accepted, or does it not matter when college is considered?
The colleges don't really consider students taking a gap year, but if you did something productive during that time, like you got a certification somewhere else, or if you learned a language, then colleges would take that into consideration.
Anything else? Nothing? All right, let's give Madison a round of applause. Thank you very much, ma'am.